Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our daily devotional Grandfather's Box. I got a two-parter for you today, okay? Two different images, if you will, and they seem completely unrelated, but just stick with me for a minute, all right? I'm going to make you guess what they are separately, give you two different sets of clues. The first one is it's something that gives us light, and it reminds us of Jesus in the way we say it, but not the way we spell it. What do you think it could be? It's something that gives us light. It reminds us of Jesus in the way we say it, but not the way we spell it. Okay, hold on to that one for a minute. All right? Now, something else completely different, so kind of reset your brain for a minute. All right? This is an object that helps boats stay steady, and it is such an old Christian symbol. It's actually older than the symbology of the cross itself. This is something that helps boats stay steady, and it's an older Christian symbol than the cross itself. All right, you got your two answers? Okay, so what'd you get for the first answer? Go ahead and say it. I can hear you. Don't worry. Some of y'all got that. I told you I could hear you. The first one, something that gives us light, sounds like a way we refer to Jesus and the way we say it, but not the way we spell it, is the sun. S-O-N, S-U-N, the sun. This is a coin from about first century, a little earlier than first century AD. This was actually temple money, and yes, this one is authentic. And it has what's called the sunburster, or a sun on the front of it. The second part of it, something that keeps boats steady and is actually an older symbol for Christianity than the cross itself, is an anchor. Let's see if I can get you to see it. There you go. It's kind of sideways. There you go. It's kind of rubbed off because I don't buy expensive coins. As a matter of fact, in some Christian tombs that have been dated to the time of Christ, so there's a chance those individuals could have actually followed Jesus Christ himself. The symbol of the anchor was engraved above their tombs, as we are called to be fishers of men. As he keeps us steady in the storm, Christ used a lot of symbology of seafaring people in his teachings. And so, as I said earlier, this is what's known as temple money. This was money that was used in the Holy Temple, the Second Holy Temple, for giving tithes, for giving offerings unto God. And this specific coin is known as a mite. And this may sound a little familiar to you. It's actually from a story called the story of the widow's offering, or this has become known as the widow's mite. Now, we talked about this actually a number of months ago, but I wanted to bring this back up again because something kind of struck me earlier today in my own personal devotional time that I wanted to share with you. Now, if you're not familiar with temple money, this was one of the problems Jesus actually had with the Holy Jewish Temple at the time, was when you went in, they would say, oh, your money that is from another foreign government, whether it's Roman or elsewhere, they consider not good enough. It needed to be godly money. And so they would exchange it for you, of course, for a fee, right? And if you had a sacrifice that you were to bring to the temple, they would have people there that were supposed to analyze it for you to see if it met the Levitical laws and the laws of the Torah. And many times, unfortunately, some of them that were more scoundrels would say, oh, yours isn't pure enough, clean enough. It has a spot on it. It looks like it's limping. And so there'll be somebody there to sell you another one for a little higher fee. And of course, they would be happy to buy your old one off of you for a little lower fee. And there's actually reports that sometimes they would purchase these animals, take them around back, wait for you to leave, and then stick them in the for sale flocks. But that's not what this story is about. This story is about a widow that comes to the Holy Temple. But it's very related to temple money and unfortunately how it was treated. It's a story. It's one of my favorite stories, actually, from Luke 21, verses 1 to 4. It says, when Jesus was in the temple, he watched the rich people dropping their gifts into the collection box. Then a poor widow came by and dropped in 2 small coins. It says the original text refers to 2 small copper mites. I tell you the truth, Jesus says, this poor widow has given more to all the rest of than all the rest of them, for they gave a tiny part of their surplus. But she, poor as she is, has given everything she has. You see, here's what's happening here. In this time and area, one of the traditions was that there was a collection box for tithes and offerings up front. And either as you came in or as you left, typically as you came in, before service started, people would go up front and they would put their tithes or offerings in the collection box. And so if you read this in conjunction with the other Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John, what you find is that the disciples and Jesus are sitting in the back of the temple watching this happen one day. And all these very wealthy people are coming in and they're putting in these huge amounts of money. And then this poor widow comes in. Now it's important. Why does the Bible point out that she's a widow? Because in this patriarchal culture, this man-led culture, women typically couldn't have jobs, or if they did, it was not something they could make very much at. And so to be a widow meant you had no income. It meant that your livelihood, it meant that your survival was threatened because your husband had died. And so it was very often that widows became homeless or very, very poor, which is why they had a law back then called the family redeemer, somebody that in one form or another would take in a widow and care for them. So we already know, because they point out that she's a widow, that she probably has no income. She's struggling. She's almost homeless. And yet she comes in and drops in these 2 very small copper coins. In today's financial equivalents, this might be compared to the value of a half a penny. Okay, so she puts in the equivalent of roughly 1 cent. Jesus calls his disciples over to him, and he says to them, I tell you the truth, this woman has put in more than all the rest of them combined, because they gave just a tiny little bit out of their surplus. But as poor as she is, she gave everything she had. It'd be like a multi-millionaire making a $1,000 donation and saying, oh, look at how amazing I am, when it really isn't a sacrifice. To God, the dollar amount isn't the point. As we've said so many times before, the heart of the matter is a matter of your heart. The money is made of metal, which God has given us. It's his anyways. The stuff we will buy with it is stuff that God has given us. It's all his anyways. It's not about the dollar amount. It's about your heart. That's what God is more concerned with. And it's interesting because I was listening to a book earlier today about St. Francis and St. Clare of Assisi. And St. Francis is the guy God used to start what's known as the friary, which is kind of like monks. But instead of being cloistered, going off into a community by themselves, friars live in a community and they're nomadic. They go from place to place. They have no home base, but their job is just to care for the community that they're a part of. It's almost like saying the entire city is their church. That's what a friar is. That's what God used St. Francis and even in part St. Clare to start. And you may know St. Francis because you see statues of him with animals a lot of the time. Well, part of the reason behind that is because he put a huge emphasis on poverty. Now, when we talk about Christian poverty, we're not talking about financial poverty. This is where people get it wrong. Okay, Christian poverty is not about money. Money is only one aspect of it, but it's only one piece of the larger puzzle. Christian poverty, what it really has to do with, is saying, I am not completely self-sufficient. I need help. I can't do this on my own. I am a part of something bigger, something greater. St. Francis used to say that he is a part um, of the universe and its fraternity. He would say, I am only one of many brothers in the fraternity of existence. He would say, I am made of the same substance as the animals themselves. So he considered animals to be equals to him. Not that he was above them or better than them, but that he himself, St. Francis's view, saw them as other creations of God, and therefore something that was worthy of God's love and care. This is why he became known as one of the saints of animals, is because of his view of seeing animals as himself not better than them, but that he was just a part of all creation. He was just one piece of the puzzle. He was a brother among the fraternity of stars and planets, trees, animals, bugs, fish, everything. That he didn't just treat them as items or property, but that he saw them as creations that God had given us. And so in light of this idea of Christian poverty, of saying I can't make it on my own, I need God's help. I am not self-sufficient. It's the ability to be humble in that way and to say, I need God's help. I need the help of others. This is what true Christian poverty means. It goes beyond us just saying, oh yeah, we are a family and we need God and we need each other, and actually acting like it. I mean, when you think about monks, the monastic movement, they were completely dependent upon each other. When you talk about a friary, a friar has no home. He's completely dependent on the community for food, for housing, for everything. And the community is dependent upon him. It's an existence of co-relationship, where you're dependent on them and they upon you. Are we completely codependent upon God? I mean, can we honestly say, I cannot survive? I cannot make it without God. Can we honestly say that about ourselves? Are we so impoverished of our souls, regardless of how much money we got in the bank, that we would honestly say, I can't survive without God? Do we live in such a way that we consider ourselves part of the universal brotherhood of existence? If we can use St. Francis's kind of terminology. The universal sisterhood, the universal togetherness of God's existence. That I invest in it and I allow it to invest in me. You see, there's a level of humility that needs to take place here that is so counterintuitive to our culture, especially us in the Western world today. So many other global cultures got this concept of community, and we're all in this together, and we support each other. And we in the West are taught, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. You can make it on your own. If you need help, it means you're weak. But that's not the biblical model. That's not what it means at all. You see, in order for that widow to have gotten just that 1 penny worth of currency, now she got to get it from somewhere. And for even Jesus Christ himself to say how poor she is, she gave all that she had, meant, man, she must have been in a real poverty state financially. But look at how God glorified her. Look at how Jesus glorified her above all these crazy, wealthy, probably popular, influential, even political individuals, because she gave her all. It's really easy to offer help. Sometimes it's really hard to accept help. It can be really easy to give out of our surplus, our extra. Sometimes it can be really hard to actually sacrifice and give something that's hard. So I invite you today, join me Join me as I self-reflect and ask, do I see myself as part of the universal fraternity of existence? Do I see myself as truly spiritually povertous, in such need of God that I am dependent upon Him for survival? Pray with me. Heavenly Father God, we seek to be dependent upon You. We seek to stop trying to make it completely on our own. We do not seek to take advantage of You, Lord, but at the same time, we seek to be humbled enough to not just accept Your grace, but need it. Use us, Lord, to be part of the existence of all that You made. Teach us how to truly sacrifice in our giving of ourselves and be willing to accept it of others, that we may melt into the puzzle of the beautiful picture that You create, that we may become just a single cog in the existence of Your eternal plan. Help us, God, to stop trying to be the jewel-encrusted top piece and just be excited about being one of the greasy-covered wheels at the bottom. For it is about Your plan, not our glory. It is about Your change in the universe, not our memory that may last one generation. We offer ourselves in humility and poverty to You now, through Christ our King. Amen. I love you. Stay safe. God's peace. I'll see you tomorrow.